What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at?
He's nervous.
I gotta zen myself.
This is episode 1 for me. Okay? I should be nervous here.
This intern.
Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Nerd Switch podcast. My name is Dylan, and joining me today is my good friend and fellow nerd, Jeremiah.
Hello again, everybody. Good to be here with my friend and fellow nerd, Dylan.
Ooh, it's me. Also joining us today for the first time, our unpaid intern, Kyle.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course.
Yes,
It's mandatory. You have to be here, and you can't leave, and you're not getting paid.
I know.
So today, kind of the final 2 episodes of the year for us, we're going to be going through our top 10 games of the year for this episode. End of 2022 finally upon us, and we've got our lists together. A lot of games we've already kind of talked about in some of our episodes this year, so we're going to try and keep it a little brief. But it's always fun for me, just to go through and rank them. I think it's a habit I tried to get Jeremiah in on, and it looks like he's doing it. So
I'm struggling to do it, but it's working.
There's a critic in all of us, and it's the fun part because you get to complain more, and you get to really brag about the stuff you like. So that being said, let's go ahead and flip the switch and dive into our top 10 games of 2022. God of War noises. So, yeah, we're just going to work our way from kind of bottom to top as we go through this list here. So we'll get started right away here with unpaid intern Kyle. What is your number 10 for 2022?
My number 10 is Sniper Elite 5. Mainly because of their X-ray.
X-ray kill cams.
Yes, it's very interesting. It's a fun game to pass the time. Not very in-depth story, but I think it's pretty fun.
I never played the other Sniper Elites, but I did try 5, and I played like an hour or so on it. And I don't think it's my kind of game, but I could see the appeal. I like the slow-mo stuff. That's fun.
I like the other games they've done too, the Zombie Army trilogy. Those are pretty fun. Just the same like X-ray kill cams that show up. Those are really fun. I've played a bit of the Sniper Elite 5, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was that one that I played. But it was pretty fun. Good pick.
Well, I'm new here, so.
He's like, I was forced to be here.
we appreciate it.
And Jeremiah, how about you? What's sitting at your number 10?
My number 10 is The Quarry. Quarry. I never played Until Dawn, surprisingly. I have it, never played it. But my friend really wanted to play The Quarry, and we were hoping better co-op. 'Tis not. It is not like the Dark Tale games. This one, your co-op is you just sit there and watch them make choices.
Yeah.
And you can vote as well, but not a really good experience. So I did play it on my own, though. And because of you told me how you played it with Brianna. Mm-hmm. I did that with Kyla, and it was so much fun because I just kept having her make decisions. And I loved how, I made one decision for her, and it was the worst possible decision.
I laugh because my playthrough of Brianna, we didn't even do it on purpose, but somehow we killed every single person. And yeah, so.
It's always fun. I like games like that. They are very entertaining, good story, slow down, kind of take your time games. But it was fun.
It's a good one. It's not on my list, but I did enjoy it.
What was your 10, good sir, Dylan?
As you know from our gaming industry episode, I'm a simp for Call of Duty.
Oh, God.
However, to maintain some amount of respect to myself, it's only in my number 10 spot. And that is Modern Warfare 2, the newest Call of Duty from this year. Look, I routinely like Call of Duty, and I feel like the recent Modern Warfare games, especially, have actually been pretty good.
I will agree. The Modern Warfare games were great.
And, like, it has a good campaign. I've really enjoyed the multiplayer. I haven't taken too much time with the Warzone and DMZ, but from what I've heard, they're pretty good. So, overall, it's a solid game for me, and I'm happy to have it on my list.
I'm happy for you. Okay? I'm happy that you've chosen a Call of Duty as your top 10.
Yeah.
They've messed up a lot of games in the past, and they did a pretty good job with this one.
It really did. Modern Warfare has been doing really well. The only complaint I have is they need to fix their storage. They are too big of games. They are too annoying to download. And I can't play the first one now because my downloads don't work.
Yeah.
I am liking to. I recently came into a Christmas gift, and I will be using that Christmas gift towards getting the full game. So I'm looking forward to it.
Alrighty, let's jump on up to number 9, Unpaid Intern Kyle.
So with my number 9, I have Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. This is mainly this is mainly just for the nostalgic factor. This is a game I played growing up, with the original Xbox, and it's just fun dialogue, not really in-depth story, but it's fun to pass the time with.
I did play Forever Go 2 when I was a kid. I don't remember which one, but that game was just fun. I remember you're like playing in the UFO, sucking up a cow.
Yes, all the different weapon types.
Yeah, I didn't
see. I've always loved games like that. You just get a bunch of random alien weapons. You get your scroll wheel to just select whatever you want. You get a bunch of different gadgets and stuff. Those are just so much fun games. Mm-hmm. This game, I kind of played some of the original ones, but I never got to own them. I was always going to a friend's house to play them, so I never got that full experience. I didn't get to grow up playing them as my friends did. I was just I came over. Can I play that game?
Can I play the game where I get to probe people? It's a good one. I didn't play the new one, but I did enjoy that series when I was young.
Gosh, me too.
Yeah.
It's the Dr. Pepper.
Alrighty.
I haven't drank it yet, so.
What about your number 9, Jeremiah?
Mine is Evil West. Came out last month, and I played all of it super easy. It's a old Western vampire hunter, and it was super fun. That it was just this very linear. Again, you get a bunch of cool gadgets. Your character is the son of the great leader of vampire hunters and their organization, and you get a really cool arc gauntlet to go fight vampire and werewolf creatures. Super short story. It's got a casual upgrade system, weapon upgrades. It's old Western, so you get a revolver. You've got the hunting rifle. You get this cool shot-off shotgun. It's a super easy linear story. You have collectibles for currency to buy your upgrades, and then levels to upgrade.
I do appreciate linear games in a world where developers kind of feel like everything has to be open world and huge. Ubisoft.
With an insane amount of Easter eggs as well.
Yeah.
See, it's nice to go back to those small ones every now and then. Kind of remember where we came from. Yeah. See if they've improved them at all. This one, not much. They had so many bugs in there. But it was still fun to play. It's co-op, too, which that's one thing I really enjoy, is a good co-op game. And I don't get that as much. A good co-op game to me, I'll be able to explain it later on, but is like Dying Light, where you join your friends, you play in their story, and you can continue your story by playing it, or choose not to, and then you can play your own.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my number 9 is A Plague Tale Requiem.
I've heard so many good things about those.
It is really good. I was a pretty big fan of the first game. I don't think either game's perfect, but I like the story that they take. They are more linear games, and the gameplay is kind of more stealth-focused, but I like mostly the story it's telling. It's a unique setting with a unique premise. And it has some really good moments that I enjoy. There's a sequence in the second game where rats just literally flood the streets of the city you're in, and you're having to run, not get munched.
Not getting munched.
It's a good time.
Sounds like a fun time.
But let's jump up to number 8. Kyle, what do you have?
With number 8, I have Gotham Knights. Listen, it's a fair piece of criticism you have there. But as someone who grew up with the Arkham games, it's a game that I had to buy.
See, my thing with that game was I enjoyed it. Not the best laid out system. Their gameplay needed work. They could have easily touched up on how Arkham Knight games were actually played, but they didn't.
I completely agree.
They, one of my first things, I jumped in the game and it has you jump out a window. And I'm expecting, down. No, I went flying forward into a wall. I'm like, what the? Why am I over here?
They tried, I think, way too hard at this game as far as the skill tree goes, and
the fact they also could not keep the frames per second up to a basic 60 frames per second on console makes no sense. Yeah. I get that they're probably not the better company.
Definitely not.
But they tried. They did what they could. It works. But it's okay. I definitely still prefer Arkham games. I'm actually very confused as to why this game couldn't have continued it when we're getting a Suicide Squad that supposedly continues the Arkham games. It makes no sense.
It's a different developer.
Yeah, true. Good game, though. Okay. He may not like it as much. I did enjoy playing it.
They added co-op.
It's got that co-op feel,
Like you said about the story, you can continue your story along with
it has a decent upgrade system. It's not terrible. It does feel like there's a lot because the one thing is, though, is it's per character upgrade. So you have to play every single character, which in turn does give you replay value, or for completionists, they'll just play a ton of hours into that first playthrough. So it kind of works out.
I actually didn't play it.
That's fair. It didn't look great.
Yeah, just from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What about your number 8, Jeremiah?
Mine is Tiny Tina's Wonderland, the continuation spin-off of Borderlands games. Yeah. This game is a kind of its own separate game based on a DLC in the second game. And it takes a lot of the Borderlands characters and turns them into a D&D style game, but Borderlands. Super fun. Great game. I played all of the characters I could at the time when it first came out. I made all different characters. I think it's a total of 6 or so, because it's two classes can be created, and you can do that. You can create all the different combinations from those 2 classes. Super fun. I did enjoy it. The end game, not a fan of, because I really enjoyed Borderlands 3's end game.
That's fair.
So my number 8 is Dying Light 2, a game we've kind of talked about off and on. It's my whole premise on it being here is just it's really fun to play. There's stuff I don't like about it, but it's fun enough to make my list. And number 7.
I have it higher on my list because I actually enjoyed it.
Oh no, I enjoyed it. I'm just saying, of the games on my list, it has the lowest score at 7 out of 10, next to another game as well. But it's fun. I'm not saying it's a bad game by any means. It's just, there's some things that could have done better.
I guess. I feel like they did a pretty good job. I mean, then again, Dying Light 1, they've literally kept working on it until Dying Light 2.
Yeah.
So I feel like Dying Light 2 is going to be just as much worked on, just as much effort.
Yeah, we'll see. What about number 7? Unpaid intern Kyle.
Number 7, once again, with a nostalgia factor, I have Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. It brought out the kid in me. It really did. It's just fun to pass the time and to kind of replay some of the same things that I did as a kid, but they added some new aspects as well.
I did play that one too. Me and my fiance played it co-op, and a lot of the time I just spent trying to kill her.
Yes.
It's fun. It was a little messy at some parts. I'm not a fan of kind of how they structured it, but
see, that's what I was gonna say. I loved playing the originals on GameCube when I had them, but I couldn't get into this one because I didn't like the new like style for it. I enjoyed just like the far screen. You could see all the different puzzles you had to do. You could go back as different characters later on. I wasn't liking like the actual fighting style. That it wasn't just kind of like a normal button mash, and you just slash at an enemy or throw them with force.
It's
It's
very
different.
it's simple.
It's very
It's
different.
simple.
And what about your number 7?
My number 7 is Cat.
Cat.
Meow.
Meow.
Should have gone with that name. Meow. It is Stray. Really enjoyed that game. It's a really fun indie game where you're just playing a cat and surviving in a robot world. Yeah.
I think the fact that the game has a dedicated button just to meow, that's like game of the year material.
I mean, it's got a dedicated button to meow. You are a cat that can knock objects off shelves for fun, and there are rugs and walls with dedicated buttons to just claw them.
Yeah.
I showed that to Kyla, my girlfriend, and she instantly just started doing it, and she sat there doing it for like 10 minutes just because she could.
Yeah, I actually really like that game. It's a bit higher up on my list. That was your 7.
That was my 7, so what is your 7?
Oh, yeah. So my number 7, one that we did a whole episode on, which is the Callisto Protocol. A game that I still am a little bit disappointed with, but it's just the survival horror fan in me still holds it in high regard. Getting a Dead Space-like game after so many years since Dead Space 3. I wish it could have been better, but I'm still happy with what we got, and they're actively making improvements to the game as well. So hopefully later down the line it'll be a little higher up for me, but solid game. And then we can jump up to number 6. Mr. Kyle, what do you have?
And with number 6, I have High on Life.
I'm glad, because that's actually my number 6 as well.
Oh, yes, 2 for 1. That's
I think it is an absolutely hilarious game as someone who loves the Rick and Morty franchise.
Mm-hmm. It was hilarious. I love the humor for it. I love the style. Also, just for the size of the game, like, so much detail goes into it. Because there's so many things you can do that can affect how your character acts, how other things affect the stories. All the different dialogue that comes up, because there are dialogues that won't come up unless you do, like, you may kill some people in there, and you may not, and you get dialogue based on that. And also, it's very literal at times, because one of the missions is you're a new recruit for the G3, and it tells you to wait patiently for an hour. You can sit there for an hour in real time, and it will actually give you a prompt saying, wow, you actually waited a whole hour.
Yeah,
I love games that do that.
That game didn't quite make my list, but I did enjoy it. I had a similar issue with it to their last game with Trover Saves the Universe, where like I do really like the humor and the world and everything, but for me it's just the gameplay gets a little repetitive. So I found myself kind of getting bored with it after not too long. But I do really like the humor. It's good.
That's understandable.
I like that you can go in the house and legitimately watch an entire movie from like
The movie itself is hilarious because it is a old Paul Walker movie from '94.
Tammy and the Teenage T-Rex.
Yeah, Tanny and the Teenage T-Rex, and it is the weirdest movie ever. But as I first started watching it, you hear like a cheer squad, and I'm like, Dylan tells me, "Oh, I started watching a movie." It's like, "Oh, I know why Dylan started watching that."
No.
Did you guys watch the entire movie?
I watched a good 20 minutes of the first part of the movie.
Yeah, I watched like 30 minutes. And I like it too because it cuts to commercial with the premise for like the gimmick of the show they're doing is the guy's dressed up like a human and he's like, I'm a human, ooh. Like, this is what humans like to watch.
I actually never saw that part. I didn't see the commercial. I watched up to where he was being, it's Paul Walker's character's about to die by a lion.
Yeah.
But it's the weirdest movie. They have like so many like random actors for this movie. It's Paul Walker gets killed and he gets his brain put into an animatronic T-Rex by a mad scientist doctor.
Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
Super random movie to throw in there, but it's the full movie.
Yeah. Overall, it is a good game. It'd be like an honorable mention for me. But if my number 6, just a spot up, then yours is Stray.
Yay, cat game.
Yes.
Meow.
It's just good. I love the sci-fi aesthetic, you know, the cyberpunk cat city, whatever. It was just a fun time.
It was really good. I did enjoy it.
But now we can move up to the upper echelon of our list. Mr. Kyle, what is your number 5?
I know this is where I start to lose you guys here, but with my number 5, I have Madden 23.
What is that?
Sports.
What are those? What's grass?
It's a game that I complain about every single year because it's the same, but I also buy it every single year. Okay? It's something that you
That
can
sounds like a typical gamer to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
See, that's why I put Call of Duty in my number 10, because I do the same thing.
Yes, it's just one of those games where you can have a great time or you can absolutely hate yourself and everybody playing it, but you don't put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Jeremiah? What is your number 5 this year?
My number 5 is the Callisto Protocol.
Okay.
Callisto Protocol. But yeah, I chose it there. I actually was just doing some touch-ups just as we were talking here because I needed to kind of rearrange some stuff. But I actually prefer this kind of list a little bit better. Callisto Protocol was a great game. It had some bugs. It wasn't as what I was hoping for. I also didn't like that it was a lot shorter. And again, it needed its New Game Plus on launch to really get that extra playtime to where I could have enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
I feel like it was very short linear. I mean, like, I even have Evil West on here, but even that felt longer. It's co-op, so I got more play out of it with friends. And Callisto Protocol still was higher because of its story was really good. The actors I really enjoyed.
Yeah. I think the runtime, as far as like survival horror goes, that's actually pretty standard.
I didn't want standard. I wanted more.
I was okay with the length. I just mostly agree that the lack of New Game Plus is really what hurt it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like we did a whole entire episode reviewing this game. So if you guys want to check that out, I recommend
Go check it out.
The game has promise. But yeah.
So that is my 5. What is your number 5?
My number 5, and I guess I forgot to mention, because I do have like 3 larger indie games on my list. So the first one was Stray. Number 5, another indie game that came out this year called Sifu. And it's like a kung fu, kind of roguelike, sort of ish. The premise is basically, at the beginning of the game, this like enemy kung fu faction breaks in and kills your dad. It was someone that your dad like previously trained. And so they break in and kill him while you're a kid. And then you then grow up to get revenge, but you have this like pendant talisman thing you wear, and every time you die in the game, you come back a little older. And so basically you get to play through continuously aging every time you get defeated to try and get all the way to the final boss. And every time you die, you do start over. But like as you work through the game, you're unlocking shortcuts that allow you to get through levels faster, stuff like that. And it easily has one of my favorite combat systems from a game like ever. It's just really good combat. Like when you master it and you're actively doing it, you feel very badass.
Okay.
Feeling the badass.
Yeah, really good game. That one, this is where we start to get to like my 9 out of 10 territory, and Sifu I definitely gave a 9 just because the gameplay was so good. But yeah, now we can jump up to number 4, Unpaid Intern Kyle.
Listen, I know you kind of gave Dylan a little bit of crap for his number 10.
Oh, no!
That's all the way up at 4 for me. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, no!
It's a game. As long as I can remember, I've been playing Call of Duty.
I support you in this decision.
Thank you. You get some friends together, you have a great time, or not. But it's just a game
You
that
get yelled at by a 12-year-old living in his mom's mom's house.
if he defeats me, I kind of deserve it. Okay. I'm gonna come back and I'm going to get him. So
It is the same kind of thing as Madden. You're either gonna have a really good time when you sit down to play this game, or you're gonna kind of hate yourself. You know?
Yeah, and put it down really quick.
Yeah. It's fun. Like, I can't complain that it's on either of our lists, just because Call of Duty's always been fun to me. You know?
I'm glad it's not on my list. I can tell you that. But I will admit I have yet to play the full Modern Warfare 2. I don't have it yet.
Yeah.
So I have only played Warzone. It's okay. We've got floating people in the air, you know, like 100 foot in the air sniping you no matter where you are.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for a really good campaign, and I know it didn't live up to Modern Warfare 2019, but
Still solid.
it was still a good campaign.
I love playing through the Call of Duty campaigns because they're all like just short and sweet. You know, you can put 5 to 6 hours into it and be done with it. And there's some really good ones, like Infinite Warfare, fantastic campaign. Don't know if either of you played that one.
I did, and I enjoyed
I still have your game. Haven't touched it.
But let's go ahead and jump over to you, Jeremiah, with your number 4.
My number 4 is Horizon Forbidden West. Okay. I've been playing it a bunch now. I played it the last couple of days, so I was trying to catch up on that. Just to really get more of a feel for the game. And I've been able to compare it to 1 and 2, and I'm loving the difference between 1 and 2. Like, 2 is really outdone themselves. They've really progressed forward in the game.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that outside of the show where, like, the first game's really good, but me and you both kind of had the same complaints with it where, like, the voice acting wasn't great, tied with, like, the facial animations.
The animations for their, like, the way they talked, the way they showed emotion just was not there.
Yeah, like Aloy was just a really flat character to me initially, but I feel like with this game they put a lot of work in to really kind of.
They did a good job for her character, and I really appreciated that. I still love the combat system. I really like. It took me a while to get used to in the first one, but I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing was the rope caster, just to like grab enemies and throw them to the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm liking the second game. I'm having fun in the Forbidden West.
It's fun.
It's not a game I've played, but I've heard Jeremiah talk about it a fair amount, and it sounds good enough for me to get it.
Yeah.
So
robot dinosaurs.
Exactly.
It's robot animals. You got dinosaurs and animals.
Right. What did I have? Oh yeah. So number 4, another indie game for me, and this is Martha is Dead. Like, if there's any...
Who's dead?
Martha.
Oh.
Why did you say that name?
Why did you say that name? It's his mother. Can we just become best friends?
Stupidest out to a movie conflict ever. Yeah. But, like, if there was any game I had to really pick to, like, talk about this year, it would definitely be this one. I did only give it an 8 out of 10, but it's so high up on my list just because of the actual, like, implications and the things that this game accomplishes. It's a game that tackles a lot of mental illness and kind of awareness. Like, right at the beginning of the game, before you even start, you get a message that warns you, like, there's a lot of disturbing imagery, stuff that could be, like, triggering to people, and it provides a link to, like, a helpline, like a... I forget the name of the website. I took a note of it somewhere.
But it brings awareness to a lot of the issues.
safeinourworld.org/findhelp is the site it gives you.
Okay.
And the premise of the story, so you're playing during World War II. You're in Italy, and you're playing as Julia, who is like the daughter of this German war general. And throughout the game, like the very beginning of the game, you basically find your sister like drowned in the lake by your guys' house, and the sister being Martha. And then what happens is, like, Julia drags her to shore. They're twin sisters, and it's implied you can't tell them apart whatsoever other than like clothing. And what happens is her parents run to the shore and then mistake Julia for Martha, and Julia, who never had a good relationship with her mother, kind of rolls with it, and then she just assumes Martha's identity. And Martha was also deaf in the game, so she has to basically pretend to be deaf because for her, like, that getting that love from her mother was worth it. But it leads to a lot of mental stuff going on, and then the game dives really deep into stuff that kind of makes you question. Like, I don't think two people will have the same interpretation of how this game actually wraps up. Like, I have my own kind of interpretation of what everything means, but what I love about it is it can be completely different to how somebody else sees the ending. And it's just really good. The environment they set up for Italy, you're in a villa. It's one of the most, like, fleshed out and realistic renditions of, like, a real-world environment to me. And there's a lot of horror implied, not just through, like, the scary stuff happening in the game, but also through stuff like newspaper articles referring to stuff going on with the war, stuff like telegrams you hear and stuff you hear over the radio because your dad's a war general. And there's even side stuff in the game you can do to like help the Italian resistance by giving them information about your father, or you can choose to help your father. And this is a complete side quest that you could miss, but it's just really good.
Sounds like a pretty good game.
Yeah, it lacks some polish. That's why it's only an 8 out of 10 for me. But the stuff that the story does is just really good. And yeah, I think it's one worth talking about. Sorry, I kind of rambled on. I just really like the game.
No, it made me want to play it. So thank you.
But yeah, let's jump up to number 3.
Number 3. Intern Kyle, go.
Unpaid intern. Kyle.
Unpaid intern Kyle,
Don't
go.
give him any ideas.
Yeah. Don't want to start paying me. With number 3, I know it's a remake, remaster, but The Last of Us Part 1. I think the story is one of my favorite video game stories I've ever played. I didn't know what to play next. I wanted something that could live up to the hype and just keep going from where I left off.
See, I really did like the first Last of Us. Great game. Gameplay mechanics were like the only issue I ever had in that game. But story-wise, I loved the story. I loved the first DLC for the story. I liked all of the first game. It's a great game. I haven't played the remastered because I already have a remastered of this game. And I haven't even played that one. So it's definitely not a game I like typically go back to as much because it is just a straight up linear game. It's a massive world to look at, but it is a really good game to play. I heard that they changed part of the crafting so that it matches the second game. Never touched the second game, probably won't.
Second game's great.
I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people had their issues with it, but I thought it wasn't as good as the first, in my opinion.
I feel like
the second one was
the
still
first
very good.
is what I enjoyed because I liked Ellie and Joel's story.
Get over it.
Yeah. Things
I
happen,
didn't
Jeremiah.
think he needed to die. Okay.
It's the way they did it.
Because
They
I
had
mean,
to set
it's
it
one
up.
of the biggest things. Is that's why I can't stand The Walking Dead anymore.
But that's
It's
why I appreciate it, because the show ignores plot armor. No one's safe, and that's a good thing.
That's true. That's true.
But that's not the point here. They can create the story.
It's a
that doesn't
post-apocalyptic
need
world, and people die!
Yeah! The people that struggle and have to actually conflict against other humans because that's all we can fight against.
And there was a conflict, which is why he died.
Yeah.
Right?
But we didn't need to do it that way. There could have been an entirely other story, just saying. Because like, I even know a lot of the story of the second game that they are fighting two people that just want to live, and she is upset and kills Joel because someone killed her person or whatever it was.
Yeah, you get to see both sides of the story, but
They didn't have to kill each other. That's my whole point. Like, even Walking Dead.
No, but they did.
Humans don't have to fight each other in a post-apocalyptic world.
I can agree with you, but I can also just roll with the punches, okay? it's a good game.
I agree. And like, I don't take any issue with the remaster or remake being on your list. My issue is more with them for like labeling it as a remake, even though it reuses a lot of assets.
Yeah.
But also they wanted full price for it, which that's the real kicker for me.
Yeah, that's what it. They definitely shouldn't have done that. It should have been DLC at most. I think.
I would have been fine if they did like a $40 price tag, because it's a game that's been re-released twice already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't need to do a full price for a remaster that's
Especially-
not a full remaster.
Listen, they're running out of ideas, okay?
Well,
I
like,
could tell.
especially when you look at like The Witcher 3, which they just got their next gen update for free, which they touched up the visuals, they touched up gameplay aspects. Granted, they didn't go as in depth where like The Last of Us completely reworked a lot of the sound design and stuff or whatever they did, but it's just asking $70 for a game we've all most likely already played and bought before is just
It's not okay.
At least one time.
yeah.
My only gripe with gameplay is a bat is not going to break after 3 hits. It's my only gripe.
How
That
hard
was
can you hit?
enough to knock down a molded,
What if it's an
broken apart zombie.
What if it's an old bat?
Yeah.
Why would
It's
I
been
have
through
an
a lot.
old bat?
Because you're in an apocalypse. What, you gonna go bat shopping at the new bat store?
Yeah! I guarantee there's some stores out there that's
Okay.
got just stuff
When you
laying
find it, you
around
let me
because it's an
know.
apocalypse.
When
Well-
you find it, let me know. Tell me where it is.
Let's go, Kyle. You are now my co-host, Jeremiah. You are now the unpaid intern.
All right, now I can pay some bills. Okay, there we go.
Oh, by the co-host still doesn't get paid.
I don't get paid.
I meant like emotional bills.
All right. What is your number 3, Jeremiah?
My number 3 is Dying Light 2.
Just kidding.
I really enjoyed the game. Like I said, I love the first game. They literally kept working on the first game up until the second game even came out. And even the day of the second game coming out, they still were doing an update for the first game. They were fully developed to working on their games. And I can really hope for that same dedication for the second game.
As good as the first game is, we got to talk about the second game, though, because it's not as good as the first game.
Well, again, the first game wasn't as great and polished as the second game is at start. It took a long time for it to be where it's at.
Yeah. I just, like, the game's fine. I'm not saying it's bad, like I said, because for me it was number 8.
Mm-hmm.
The story was poo-poo.
I didn't like the story as much.
Hit him with it.
The story itself definitely could have been better. I didn't like that it didn't feel like it really mattered. Again, it's people versus people, but at least I'm fighting a lot more zombies. That's why I really enjoy it, because I actually classify this as a good zombie game.
The gameplay is fun. I just wish the story kept up.
It really went back and forth and just kind of kept changing the direction of the story. Because your whole purpose that's starting off is you are Kyle Crane 2.0 wanting to go find your sister. And that's how the game starts, but it doesn't go anywhere into that. You are thrown into these random encounters, just meeting all these other survivors, and you're thrown into their stories. So your story just kind of gets overlapped at first, but then it gets thrown pieces here and there.
Yeah.
So I agree. The story was definitely all over the place.
See, that's what I'm saying. Gameplay, 7 out of 10. Story,
Yeah,
Zombie
for me,
doo-doo hot
at
dog water
least
out of 10.
8 or 9 out of 10 for gameplay. Because again, it worked. That's all I needed. It works. It's a lot like the first game. Great parkour. Although nighttime didn't feel as like serious, because in the first game it looked a lot darker, and it's definitely been a lot longer now. Seeing how the world is affected by it, it should be darker.
Yeah. My number 3 is one that we already talked about, which is Horizon Forbidden West, just a little higher up on my list. It's just really good. I enjoyed it, especially since I didn't love the first one. Getting the second one to make all those improvements, I approve of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 for me. Really good. But now we can move to our final 2, which I'm pretty sure all of us have the same games, but maybe in a different order.
I think me and Kyle are the same. You're the odd man out.
Oh, so I'm right.
I don't think that's how that works.
But yeah, for anyone that's been paying attention to the games this year, you can probably guess it's between Elden Ring and God of War. So since I'm the odd man out, I guess I'll go with my top 2 first, which I put Elden Ring at number 2 and then God of War at number 1. Because
It's a good order. I cannot deny that it is a good order.
and what
Like it deserves high praise. It deserves a number 1 spot in rankings. Other people can have it on their second, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it goes both ways for this game.
I'm not saying Elden Ring's bad by any means. It's like,
Yes.
we can collectively talk about Elden Ring because it is really solid. Just From Software knows what they're doing at this point, and this was easily their most ambitious project. And it's like both of these games are a 9 out of 10 for me. I don't think either of them is perfect, but for me, I have a bias towards good storytelling, and God of War's story is delivered to me much more favorable for the way that I like to see the story roll out. And Elden Ring is much more, From Software is known for, like, the story's there, but you gotta look for it.
You gotta really look into the story.
Incredibly in depth.
Yeah.
You have to really pay attention or dive into other aspects and kind of get the hang of it.
Yeah. I think for me too, some gripes with Elden Ring, like when I admit it's probably way better now, but like my first playthrough I did was really unbalanced, where you had some stuff that was just broken and other stuff that was just not very good. As far as like whatever build you decide to use.
Yeah.
I have no clue how to say his name, but it's the he's the go-to Elden Ring or FromSoft lore, basically.
Yeah.
Best person to get the story from. That is true that you have to really look up a lot of the items to see like the story.
Yeah,
or...
which like that's fine. That's just up to your preference on how you prefer to like see a story unwrap. I just know some people don't want to have to go like watch a 2-hour YouTube video to get the context.
But see, this man is beautiful. His voice is spectacular, and he gives you just that extra story. So that's why I rate this highly, and I can add him to a part that he is the storyteller.
You can be honest and just say,
I've never seen this man's face.
He's the reason.
He is a wonderful storyteller, though, and he tells all of the FromSoft game stories perfectly, and that's why I consider him like the official storyteller for FromSoft. And Elden Ring is no different. He even tells you stories like he will tell you things like that you may not know about the game. Which one of my favorite things is like he does give you a bit more of a backstory for it, which is the game is like possibly taking 5,000 years of backstory for lore. Mm-hmm. The game itself is supposedly theorized and possibly confirmed that this game, Elden Ring, takes place before all of the previous From Software games. So the Souls world, Bloodborne's world, and Demon Souls. This all originates here in Elden Ring.
Yeah. And like I said, I have no quarrel. Like I do, they're both fantastic games. And I'm not saying like God of War is like a mile ahead of Elden Ring on my list. They're both like just really good. I just have a slight preference for God of War.
They're 1 and 2 for a reason.
Yeah.
You know? It was a toss up for me.
Yeah, I mean.
So what got you to put Elden Ring in your one? Unpaid intern, Kyle.
Hey, wait a minute. That's co-host Kyle.
Yeah, interesting switch up, Jeremiah. But just
I say it as it is, okay?
the amount of time that I was able to put into that game compared to the rest on my list.
That is true. That is.
I think between the amount of time that you put in, the size of the game itself, how many different areas you can explore and miss quite a few things, honestly, which is a little annoying at times, but...
The game definitely does not hold your hand with exploration.
No, and this was my first From Software game, so I was thrown into the fire, and it's a wonderful game.
It is, and I definitely agree, because again, I played my first playthrough 126 hours to finish all of my playthrough, and there are still some boss fights I missed.
Yeah.
So there's...
And a lot of them are quite challenging,
Yeah,
too.
there's stuff that I have not gone to go find, and there are stuff I could go back to. I definitely was a completionist and tried to grab as much as I could. I platinumed it my first playthrough, but then that just makes me even more excited for potential DLCs. Mm-hmm. Continuing. I've never been a PvP kind of person in the FromSoft games. Whenever they come, I hide, which Elden Ring was hilarious for because they gave us this... camouflage, and it is my favorite thing. Just with my friend and I, we were doing stuff, hanging out. We would turn into a bush, and we just watched as they walked around us all the time, and it was so fun. And it's those kinds of things that I still enjoy because it's semi-optional. You don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah.
Elden Ring just did a lot of good stuff for me.
I did have more time on Elden Ring than I had God of War. Like I said, I just have a story bias.
Which it's hard to go against a really good story though, so I
Yeah.
completely understand.
I will definitely admit, with God of War Ragnarok, having the character development from Kratos, having the character development for Freya,
Yeah.
I loved their character development. The lip quiver from Kratos is just it sheds tears.
It gets you.
It pulls you in.
Yeah, just they're both really good. I think for a lot of people, those are the two games people are kind of choosing from. There is an argument like Horizon Forbidden West. I feel like kind of got overshadowed by both of them as well. But all three of those games,
I feel like they did it twice to themselves because I mean the first Horizon game came out the same time as another really big game.
yeah,
The second Horizon comes out as an even bigger game comes out, so they kind of do it to
yeah,
themselves.
because Horizon was like, well, for me at least, the first big like AAA game this year, and I remember I was trying to kind of rush to beat it so I could start Elden Ring at the same time as everyone else. But yeah, they're really good. But one thing I do want to do now that we have our lists in order, so just to clarify, I had God of War #1. You guys both had Elden Ring. One thing I want to do is kind of break down some side categories and figure out if you have a pick for them. You know how kind of like the Game Awards, they'll have like best narrative,
story.
whatever.
Okay.
So that being said, first one I will go to is best story of the year. For me, and this is a toss-up because I would pick God of War, but for me it might actually be Martha's Dead. Because I feel like that story has larger implications to like real world stuff, and I
Okay.
appreciate it. But what about you guys? If you had to pin your like favorite narrative story of the year, what would that be?
With someone who didn't play Martha is Dead, I think it's undoubtedly God of War.
Yeah.
It pulls you in the entire time. From beginning to end, the story was incredibly well done.
Okay.
Yeah, same. It's going to have to be God of War for me, especially with just how my list is set up. It kind of only can fall to God of War. The rest of my games have good stories. Looking at Elden Ring, again, you have to look into the game to find its story. If they were to lay that out into a detailed narrative in the game, I could say Elden Ring. But because you have to look it up, definitely more God of War.
How about the best performance of the year?
Again, I would want to say God of War, but I actually could honestly say Horizon Forbidden West, Aloy's character.
Okay.
I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head,
I don't.
but
either.
seeing the change that I've already seen from what I've gotten to play of the second game, she has done a great job from her first game. She's doing so much better in her second game.
Okay.
And a lot of the characters in those games really are doing a great performance for that world.
Yeah. And you, Mr. Kyle? Is it a ghost from Modern Warfare 2?
Well, it does hit home. I have to go with Kratos.
Okay.
I think even if you tie in the first game, just beginning to end, he's
sold the character.
he sold the character
Yeah.
very well. Very
He
well.
really does. But he won on the real awards, and I wanted to be different.
Yeah.
I know I can blame a lot of it on the storytelling and just the narrative itself, but the character development, he's just a character that you can get behind.
Yeah, it is like one of those rare roles where you really identify that voice actor as like owning that character.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me this year, it's really hard. Like that's probably the hardest one for me to pick as best performance because I mean, Atreus is really good, Kratos is really good. Looking at other games, I agree. Aloy is really good in Horizon. Even in like the Callisto Protocol with like Josh Duhamel.
So that's
as
what I
Jacob
was
Lee.
thinking too. I was thinking like with Callisto Protocol's characters, their
Yeah.
performances were really well done. I mean, when one of your jobs is saying, okay, do as many death noises as you can come up with.
Yeah. And then another one that I feel like people have also kind of forgotten about this year because of the weight of some of those AAA titles, but like Amicia's character from A Plague Tale Requiem does a fantastic job. And then
I mean, she was nominated on Game Awards, so she was noticed. I, again, didn't get to play Plague Tale, so I didn't really get to see or hear her, like, performance for the game.
And then also, once again, Martha's Dead. Granted, I did play the game in Italian, because I have a weird thing about, like, preferring to hear it in the language for, like, the setting, because it does take place in Italy. So I had the whole game going in Italian, and that voice actor did a really good job. But if I had to pin one...
You're just weird.
I am weird, I admit. I think I would probably give it to Amicia, because her character in Plague Tale Requiem really, for me, sells the ideology of being like that big sister that's just trying to protect your little brother.
Okay.
And she does a really good job. You get to hear the anger she has when she's like, you know, Hugo, the little brother's about to get harmed. You can hear that rage from her. You can hear her empathy. I suck at saying empathy, but... and sadness.
Empathy.
Just really good. And then, aside from best performance, I do another big thing on games is the gameplay. And for you guys, what do you think had the best gameplay this year?
That's, again, just so annoyingly tough, you know?
Mine's pretty obvious, like I mentioned earlier with Sifu. It's just one of the best combat systems I've ever seen, so I could easily give it to that game. But I agree, there's a lot to offer from the other games as well.
Out of, like... what do you want to... Do you want to go first?
Go for it. I'm the intern here.
Unpaid intern.
Yeah, sorry.
Out of the games I've got here, for the games that just have a lot, I couldn't really say, like, Horizon this time because I feel like there is a lot of jumbled up gameplay mechanics. A lot of buttons are reused a lot. Same thing for Dying Light 2. Things are overused, and sometimes you make your game makes mistakes. When you want to do one thing, you'll do another. For two great games like God of War and Elden Ring, God of War definitely was a lot simpler. It was easier to map your controls to what you wanted to do. Being able to change things was very simple for good gameplay, as was Elden Ring. Whereas Elden Ring, again, you had so much, but it was easily mapped and something you could easily affect.
Okay.
And I kind of would say Elden Ring in this case.
Yeah.
Just because with how many different choices you can do, all the different combat styles, it never really falters, I felt.
Because you can argue that Elden Ring's gameplay is just as simple as God of War's, if not simpler, but Elden Ring does give you a vast array of like tools and approaches to how you can play the game.
Mm-hmm. The change from how weapon arts worked to adding Ashes of War, all the different mechanics to the game really kind of gave it that extra variety.
Yeah. Okay. And have you made up your mind, young Kyle?
Yes. I think the only reason I can't go with Elden Ring with this is because of how at times there were certain weapons or certain styles that were just insanely OP.
Yeah. And I do think the game is probably more balanced now, but
Yeah, they've done so much balancing work to it now.
I just remember when I played, I did the build where you could have the shield with the magic where you're hurting yourself, and then I was sitting there like shooting projectiles out of my shield.
This guy cheesing over here.
I had the Rivers of Blood katana, and I was just.
See, I just went with basic katana, and eventually when I got seppuku, I would use that seppuku.
Seppuku.
I did not say seppuku. I said seppuku.
You might as well have.
You know, just enemy comes, he's coming at you, you're real scared, you just crap your pants, and you hope it's a deterrent.
It's a defense mechanism. Okay?
Crap your pants, you wipe it on the blade, now you've got poison in it.
So, what game did you choose then, if not Elden Ring?
But I have to give God of War the hat trick with this.
Okay.
I understand it's simple, but I think you had personal preference to decide what weapons you wanted to use and what abilities you wanted to use. You didn't necessarily have one that was insanely overpowered than the other one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, no, because remember we talked about it. The game like forces you to change weapons due to like the enemy's typing or shield.
Yes, there is
like,
that.
Like certain fights.
I
you
was
use
kind of
certain
thinking
weapons.
more along like damage between each weapon. I felt there was a high difference for all of them because I mean, an axe it's going to be a lot of heavy hitting. The blades is going to be a little bit more fast.
Yeah.
But then our third weapon again didn't feel as it felt the lightest of the attacks.
But you could also hit them from a distance.
Yes,
and I think,
that's what added the range feature.
Yeah.
So again, there were all a good difference for each weapon. I kind of wish they would have thrown it in a little bit more, but comboing between each one. So whereas you could start with the axe,
that would have been,
and it finishes your combo by going to a new weapon would have been really cool and a good way to swap between weapons rather than you just doing your one combo here, having to switch to the weapon, then start a new combo. It would have been more interesting to see that dynamic kind of flow better rather than the attack switch attack.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of my opinions.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because one thing is you could kind of do that with Elden Ring is you could start with one weapon, switch it, and then you could have, if you have dual wielding, you can then do new attack systems.
I think the transition in Elden Ring was much smoother as far as weapon.
I mean, Elden Ring, you don't even really get combos.
No, yeah.
But yeah, they're all good. I just,
Our next...
Enough said.
Yeah.
So,
our next one.
Best multiplayer experience, which granted I think only 2 of the games on my list even have multiplayer, but for me it's just, I'm just going to give it to Modern Warfare 2 because I really like the multiplayer. Elden Ring is like weird multiplayer. It's not very straightforward, but...
I mean, it's typical FromSoft multiplayer.
Well, I know, it's just... For me, like, I had a lot of fun playing multiplayer this year with...
It's definitely been their better one for Elden Ring because you can just throw your password on, you throw your sign down, you're going to see their sign in designated. Like, the best place you could do it is from the Touch of Grace to the statues that you spawn at or the ones that are set to be able to enable multiplayer.
Is that what you would pick then for yours as Elden Ring?
Actually, I would pick Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I didn't even get to play multiplayer with it too much. I probably only got 2 people to play with me. But it's Borderlands game, which is the same thing as all other Borderlands multiplayer. You send them an invite, and you can play through the entire story, matching up. They don't have to complete the same thing if they don't want to. It shares loot so that you can decide, like, if a weapon drops for you, it can drop differently for them, or you can have it set so that it drops the same, and then you can choose who wants the loot.
Yeah. Okay.
I've always thought, ever since I really got into Borderlands 3, Borderlands has had the best co-op system. Even Dying Light 2 doesn't get this one here because it does not have progression saves. If you make a choice in your game, you cannot make that same choice when you go back to yours. You have to make your own choice again. You have to play through that entire mission all over again. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And what about you, Kyle?
I have to agree with you as far as Modern Warfare 2.
Let's go, baby. Hey, Jeremiah.
You only have 2 games on here.
Your mom, Jeremiah, your mom.
Listen, no, you. Call of Duty games are always going to have their problems, but this is...
It's just fun
multiplayer. It's a fun multiplayer, and the array of different modes that you can play, but you get with some friends, and you just have a great time.
Yeah, or a terrible time.
Or not, like you said, yeah. But regardless, you're going to play the game.
You're not wrong. Regardless, you're going to be playing the game. But does that game have to require me playing against NPCs, or does it have to require me playing against PvP? That is where I don't really like where multiplayer is considered as, multiplayer? That means you're going against real people.
Well, just playing with other people, I think.
That is what my definition of multiplayer is.
That's
playing with friends, not playing against enemies or friends.
You can play with friends in Call of Duty.
But you're strictly playing against other people, unless you do that other game mode, which
DMZ.
Well, no, not even Warzone. Warzone, that again is Battle Royale, which is having you pitted against literal 100-filled lobby.
I think you're thinking Zombies.
Zombies is a good like multiplayer experience because again it's NPCs. It's the other mode though.
It's DMZ. That's kind of their take on Tarkov.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I cannot think of what it's called because Modern Warfare 1 had it. I don't know if 2 got
Prop
it.
Hunt?
No. It's literally you're fighting against regular NPCs and you're doing like a mission objective.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They just have co-op missions that you can do.
Oh, you're thinking like survival or...
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. Or it was like the survival
In
mode.
Modern Warfare 2, it's Spec Ops.
Spec Ops.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. That's a fun mode because it's, again, with your friends, going against NPCs, completing a mission.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good multiplayer to me. Basic PvP lobbies, you're doing capture the flag. Those are like bare minimum multiplayer for me. Those can be fun, like you said. That is the point where it's like you're either going to have fun or you're not, but you're going to be playing it. Yeah. That is a base definition of that mode. My personal preferred multiplayer though is I'm playing with my friends, completing missions. My ultimate goal would to see Skyrim multiplayer. You can play through the entire game with your friend. That would be the perfect game for multiplayer.
Well, let's go ahead and jump to the last category here. Just best presentation. Whatever game you think, whether it was just the most well put together, the best looking game, whatever you want to label as being best presentation. For me, it's a toss up between every game on my list, but
got the perfect game for me. I'm ready.
I kind of want to give it to Horizon. Because, that world was just so well done. And visually, it was really impressive. There's been, 4 graphically beautiful games this year, but I feel like that one, with the way it built its world and its enemies and its environments, I think is really good. Because that actually had some more diversity with its environments compared to other games we got this year.
Yeah.
So I think I'd probably give it to that one.
Mine is involving, a nostalgia factor, involving a plan for just about any kind of dialogue to match your setting and throwing in wacky things, and then it's going to be High on Life.
But it's ugly.
You know it's meant to be ugly. And it looks 1,000 times better than Pokemon.
Yeah, true. What about you, Kyle?
I think I've got to give it to Elden Ring. A visually stunning game.
Yeah.
If you look at the Erd Tree, it's gorgeous, right?
It makes me jealous that I don't have a PC to actually see all the people that have changed their custom settings and everything to where people are doing beautiful artwork from Elden Ring's gameplay. They take a screenshot and they can edit the image to just look incredible even further. I'm loving some of the mods people put out for some. They're putting out almost anime style combat into Elden Ring, and it just looks spectacular. They played it looks like it belongs in this game, and then the visual effects of a lot of people didn't like how it had this kind of gray hue to the world. Of course, the Erd Tree is this beautiful golden glow. You've got the grounds are pretty monotone color, but then your abilities all have this beautiful color touch to them.
I think my thing with From Software in general, their games have never been, to me, graphically the best, but what they excel at with their world building is the sense of scale. Well, you'll have that big castle in the distance, or the Erd Tree, that's really awe-inspiring scenic vistas, even if it's not like graphically the most impressive thing you've ever seen. You still can't help but be impressed with it just by the sense of scale they give you with it.
Right.
And the contrast, like you said, the rest of the world is dark and gloomy.
Yeah.
But the Erd Tree just glows.
You just have this brightness in like specific locations to your weapon arts. The color that they do throw in there stands out even further.
Yeah.
But High on Life is still my take, just because it, sets that nostalgia color to it. I feel like
Okay.
I played an old SpongeBob game growing up, and it's that wackiness of a cartoon that you would expect. It gives you everything of what you're going to expect from it, especially because you know who made the game.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. Just wanted to go through our games of the year. I think it's been a pretty good year game-wise, but, there's a lot to look forward to next year, so I'm sure we'll have a good time kind of getting those together as we figure out how things are looking. But with that being said, if you made it to this point in the episode, I just want to take a moment to thank you for listening. If you want to give us a follow on social media, we're on Instagram and Twitter. If you check the description on this episode, we are also on YouTube if you want to subscribe to us and support us there. And with that, we will hope to catch you guys in the next episode. And we hope you have a a great day.
Have a great day and happy holidays.
God of War is better than Elden Ring.
Maybe not.